Writing line. Hello, everyone. This is Tessa with the IdeaPros marketing team, actually in person with Fred Cary. I'm so excited.
Oh, you are. I thought that
right?
was.
We had the division line like it was us in separate rooms, but I'm actually here with the team at IdeaPros. It's
I feel
crazy.
honored.
I'm honored. This is crazy. We're doing a live Q&A with Fred today. So I know that some of you have submitted questions. If you have not gotten to submit your question yet, you can do it in the chat with us right now, and we'll keep an eye out for your questions. We do have some that have already been submitted, so we're going to go ahead and jump into those.
Okay.
Yeah, you're like this, and let the fun begin.
Wait, did you even introduce me?
This is Fred. Well, can you introduce your new title? Because that would be helpful for me.
Yes, I am your assistant, right? Is that my new title? No, Fred Cary, CEO of IdeaPros.
CEO of IdeaPros. So I know I usually say he's a co-founder and executive chairman, but now CEO of IdeaPros. I'm excited to be here to answer your questions with Fred. And the first question is, why is it so difficult for a person to find clients for a product that will save our ozone? Our product is fully developed.
Well, you should be calling us, number one. Number two, the reason it's difficult is it's the same thing for any type of product. It doesn't matter whether it's a product that is going to save our ozone or a product that is going to make cleaning dishes easier. It doesn't matter what you have. The only way to have a project and a product be notified and noticed is when you have people that know it's there. And the only way you get people there is to advertise, to market, to be able to make sure that people find that star that you have out in the universe, because otherwise, tonight, here's what I want you to do. Find a really dark area, go up and look at the sky. Look at all those stars that are out there and try to name one. You can't. You're just like that. You're a meaningless star that's beautiful and bright, but nobody knows that you're there because you don't have that telescope of advertising pointing at it and letting people see that it is there. I know we have several different things about advertising in our blog, right, at IdeaPros.com blog, and you can get some help there. But it's basically, it's money, it's connections, it's utilizing people who are bloggers and influencers. You really have to get it noticed, and if you don't get it noticed, nobody's going to be there no matter how good of a product it is.
We do have 101 marketing strategies on our blog. So if you head over to ideapros.com/blog, like Fred was talking about, there's lots of ideas on ways to market your business that aren't going to cost you a ton of money, because we want you to get noticed out there in the stars, and you have to start somewhere and just hitting the ground. If you don't have the advertising dollars, you're going to need to invest the time for sure.
I think we started out with 93 ways, but the 101 sounded a lot better, so we came up with a few more.
Yes, that's true. So it's a whole PDF download. It's got lots of great information. We also have bootstrapping, your marketing is on there. We've done a lot of marketing shows that might come in handy for you guys.
Yeah, they can find them here as well, right?
Yes. Everything's on Facebook. We do the lives as well, so definitely follow so you guys get notified when we go live as well.
Yeah, but fundamentally, for all of you, not just for people asking that question, it's like anything else in the world. If you guys were going to open up a store, just a physical store tomorrow morning, people are not going to show up there unless you do some things to get them to come inside, right? And if you think of internet advertising, online advertising, kind of in the same way that you would do in a real store, right? The least you could possibly do is put a welcome sign, grand opening sign out in front of your door, right? And that's cheap, that's effective, only when people walk by. So besides that, you can advertise in your newspapers, advertise online, advertise in mailers that you send to people's homes, but you have to advertise. An online store and an online product is just exactly the same. People don't know it's there unless you tell them it's there.
Absolutely. We also had another question about if you are not in that phase where you have a website done yet, what can you do if you don't have a website ready to go and you're going to, talk to investors, if you're going to you want to be getting some funding around your business. So I think that's similar.
If you want to be funded and you don't have a website,
yeah,
you're probably not going to be funded. So if you want to be funded, you have to do several things. Number one, you have to have a clear market strategy. You have to have a well-defined product. You have to know who the competitors are and why you're better. You need to know who your customers are and how you're going to attract them, and to be able to articulate that. And you're going to have a pitch deck that lays that all out for somebody. Putting together a website with all those other things, that's easy, because all you really need is a one-pager at this point. And later on down the road, you may need something more sophisticated, but at the very least, you can even go on GoDaddy or something and create a one-page website to have something. You know, it's basically like in the old days, if you had a business and you didn't have a telephone number, nobody took you seriously. Same thing, right? If you're going to go out, by the way, zeros used to be a really bad number on your phone number when you had rotating.
Oh, right, because it
the
took
rotary, because it took so long to get over there. If you had 1,000 or 9,000 was even worse, but that's another
story.
They'll give
up before they even got to the last zero.
Yeah, another story, another show. The reality is you need to have an address, and that's all a website really is. It's your digital address, and you put up something simple in the meantime until you get the funding you need and you can build something more sophisticated.
Most of the websites that are out there can be edited very easily, so you don't have to be even committed to your colors or your logo or anything.
Except our website, apparently.
It's not. We are updating our website right now, so more exciting things to come from Fred soon.
Yeah.
So the other question that we have is, I'm going to put it up on there. We have a viewer who has 5 inventions, all different from each other, but they can't afford to pursue them all at the same time. And so what should they do?
Take the best one. You know, you have 5 different things in 5 different areas. Get the one that's the best one and the one that you know the most about. When we have new partners coming on board to IdeaPros, we have partners that have been in an industry for quite a long time and have come up with something to benefit that industry. And we have other partners who've come on board and have thought of something completely outside the 4 corners of their knowledge. That becomes harder. I mean, it's still doable, and it's a great thing to do. But if you are already an expert in a field where you've made an invention, then you can talk about it all day long. You know everything about it. You know all about the community that this product belongs in. You know who's using these types of things. You know who the competition is. And so you show up with a wealth of knowledge. So I would take those 5, pick what you think is the best one that you have the most knowledge about. Otherwise, you could just get it like a little dartboard and
right.
shoot and pick one. But I think you go with your strength.
You do. I mean, do your research and make sure that it's one that you're filling a gap for and that there's a clear market for.
Right. Not just that you think it's the best idea that you have, but you know, there's a little place called Google. You can go on there in about 15 minutes, you can find out whether there's anybody out there that's ready to beat your butt with what you think is a very unique product.
I think it's hard to, and you've mentioned this in other shows, to have too much of a dispersal of your attention is really dangerous as an inventor, because it's easy to get distracted and want to go on to the next new thing. We know that personality of inventors are always trying to solve problems. So focusing your energy and finishing something is really important.
Yeah, I mean, and we see that all the time. We have a subset of our partners that come in, and as soon as we start talking about their first idea, they have 5 or 6 other ones that they want to talk about and get to and become partners on. And I always slow them down. Let's get through the first one. It's hard enough to make it all the way through one. And there's just incredible hurdles and burdens and sharp turns. And so focus on that one thing, especially if you don't have an extraordinary amount of capital. Pick one thing and go there.
I think it will burn you out too. So, you know, I think that you need to write, you always talk about not just having one, it's not a one trick pony. You have to have some other things coming down the pipeline, some ways to make money in the end, but you got to get through that first one. And then you can come up with the others, the next income generators for you.
Yeah. By the way, I've never said that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, maybe I have.
Possibly over the last year, I might have heard something like that. Maybe I'm just imagining things. So I know we have some people that are in our audience right now, and actually I am going to come up to the top so we can check it out. I know Steve Brown had a question, and I love how it has to do with Elon Musk. We were just talking about that earlier. Hello, Steve. We all want to be like Elon Musk, but he has access to unlimited funds to develop his ideas. How can we be legendary on a budget? I love that question. Good job, Steve.
We should make a T-shirt that says that, legendary on a budget.
Legendary.
I love that T-shirt. Actually, Steve's been here, and he and I have been beating each other up for the last several days, trying to figure out the Eclipse sunblock system that Steve has developed. Is incredible. But we're sitting here trying to figure out how to minimize some of the costs involved and how to simplify the product without losing the amazing visual component of it that we put together. And you're right. Yeah, Elon Musk's budget is pretty limitless, and right now he only has to make a phone call, probably pick up $1 billion here and there as he needs it. However, if you don't have that, you can still have that same mindset. Right? It's the mindset, not the money, that controls what you're going to do as an entrepreneur. And if your mindset is to disrupt an industry that you're going to go into, then you have to disrupt an industry. You don't go with a 2.1 version of something. You go with a 3.0 or 4.0 and find a way, if you're going to go into that marketplace, to attack it and make some of your competitors almost irrelevant. Elon did that with his electric vehicle, right? And electric vehicles have been around for a long time, and the concept of them has been around even longer. Granted, he loses billions of dollars still. It's not a money-making endeavor, so that's not for the faint of heart. But you can do something and be really revolutionary, and you don't need a whole lot of capital to pull that off. You need to have that advertising that I talked about earlier, and you need to have a real solid myopic sense on who your customer is and what it is they're going to respond to and what it is that is going to make them loyal advocates of the brand you're trying to build.
Or you can have the IdeaPros team.
Or that, but even that, you know,
I'm a little biased, and I'm getting to see them in person, so I feel like
we've done a lot of scribbling on the whiteboard here over the last few days. You know, look, a lot of this is a combination of science and art. You have to have the artistic component to it to be able to be creative, to think outside the box, to never be satisfied with exactly what you have. But you have to have the scientific component as well. This is what it costs. This is what people will pay. This is a beautiful thing we have. Maybe it costs too much for us to make real money. So how do we adjust the artistic part of it to get to the money? And so you have to have all of those things firing and never lose sight of the most important thing. If you want to be revolutionary, don't be oceanary. Be revolutionary.
Don't be oceanary.
Yeah, somebody look that up. I don't know. Maybe that's a word.
We're coming up with t-shirts and taglines.
Go with the whole word.
Be revolutionary, guys. Yes. So if you guys have any other questions, we have a couple more minutes, but I will, after, all right. Let me go ahead.
I think Bill had a question about engineering. If an engineer messes up, who's responsible? Well, that's a question that I'm going to leave for the entire universe of entrepreneurs and inventors that go to engineering firms. A lot of times, an engineering firm is a little bit insulated. Obviously, if they make glaring mistakes and you can show it, it's their fault. The problem with a lot of entrepreneurs when they start out is they want to dictate design to people who are engineers, right? An engineer looks at design in a completely different way than an entrepreneur would. And so an engineering firm will follow, in many cases, your design recommendations, even though they could end up costing a lot of money, even though they could turn a manufacturable product into something that is either not manufacturable or will cost a lot more to manufacture. And so therefore, depending on the circumstance, a lot of times it's the entrepreneur who's responsible, and the entrepreneur that has to go back into his or her pocket and put out some more money in order to get it re-engineered to a way that it should have been engineered in the first place. But again, it all depends on the circumstance. If you have an engineer and you tell them, you need to build a square, and they come back with a triangle, obviously they may be at fault. If you tell them to build a square and they build it to your specifications, and you find out that your manufacturer has a tool that can only make squares that are this size instead of this size, then it's your fault because you dictated to an engineering firm what you wanted. It's the same thing, on non-physical products like apps. We have so many people that come to us that are like, well, I could go to another app company and do this or do that. The reality is the worst thing an entrepreneur can do is tell an expert how to do something. We get so passionate in what we have and what's in here in our brain. And we have this visual of what exactly that is. So when you're an entrepreneur and you have an app and you go to an app company and you say, hey, I have this brand new golden widget app that I want you to build it this way.
He has a golden widget app even now.
It needs to do this. And by the way, you can order table service if you're at a club, or you can use it to book flights, or you can walk your dog with it, or you could, right? An entrepreneur starts adding all these different components on something that they don't even really understand who the audience is. And an app company delivers it to you, and then you start complaining that you don't have any downloads. So if you're an entrepreneur, leave the expert stuff to the experts, and you're not likely to have all those type of problems. If you want to get deep down into the deep, dark underbelly of design and manufacturing and engineering, you better come with a degree, or you better come with a big fat wallet, because you're going to be doing it more than once.
That's so true. I hope that answers your question, Bill. Good to see you. And that's high-rise sports chair. That's
actually Goliath.
Goliath, high-rise sports chair. So I know it's Goliath.
Right.
It's the new name, and it's very cool.
Well, we're actually speaking next week to people at Launch Boom about that. It looks like we might be able to go crowdfunding. And if we do, then I want you guys all to line up and get ready to get a rise on. Ooh, I like that. We might want to change the tagline.
He's on a roll now. So we have a couple more questions. I know we're coming up on the end of our time together, guys. So I just want to put up, do you think if patenting your design even before opening, it's too public as a futile effort? And I'm trying to say that in the best way possible, but I know that Fred speaks this. He's going to be able to take this.
Well, I will try to decipher what you just said.
I was just really, I'm sorry.
Don't patent what hasn't been engineered. Don't patent what you don't know can really be manufactured. Number one, under the patent laws in the United States, it didn't used to be like this, but if you patent something and there are big competitors with big wallets that show up later, 1 year, 2 year, 5 years down the road, and they argue that what you patented is not manufacturable at a reasonable cost, then that whole patent can be thrown out. Not only that, but because that's probably unlikely, because for that to happen, you'd have to have a really successful product. And only 3% of all products that are patented are ever produced, right? So it's not patenting that's going to give you protection. What's going to give you protection is investigation, understanding your marketplace, doing the analysis and research and competitive analysis and customer surveys and all of those things that are necessary to take your product or service and put it in a place that fills a hole that people really want to respond to. Those things have to all be done first. And if you're going to go patent something, you really need to wait until it's been engineered and your engineers tell you this is something that can be made and can be made at a reasonable cost, right? If you're going to patent something and your engineers just say the first part, it can be made, and then you find out it can be made for $150 and people only willing to pay $20 for it, well, then you may not want to waste the up to $20,000 that attorneys will charge you to patent a product.
We have a bunch of articles on patenting and how to go about that process, or not to go about that process for that matter.
Yeah.
So definitely check out our Facebook Lives on those. And just, I think you're about worn out now. I'm worn out, Fred.
Really?
Do you want to take any other questions? I know we have one more question from Bill. And again, if you guys have any questions, you can put it in the chat. And if we don't cover it today, we'll definitely cover it next time.
Yeah, if you have any specific or general questions about being an entrepreneur, I'm happy to answer any of them.
Any of them. Well, and I'm going to answer Fred's question. Am I in Tennessee? No, I'm in California, where the ocean is.
I would not go to Tennessee. No offense, Tennessee, but I'm here in San Diego.
But it's nice to see you all. It's really exciting to be right here. And like I said, so I think that we're probably, what's the small budget to test a physical product? What's the smallest budget?
Well,
it could be a lot.
Yeah, to test the physical product, when you say a budget to test the product, I'm assuming you mean to test it for advertising purposes to see whether or not you're going to get a consumer response if it's a consumer type product. If you're talking about testing to make sure it works properly, that's a whole nother discussion. So let me just take a leap and think that you're talking about to test it to see if anybody's going to buy it. My friends over at Launch Boom actually do have this subset, but it really only applies to testing whether a product is going to work well in crowdfunding. Mm-hmm. And that can cost around $10,000. But there's fees that are associated with it. I would say if you really want to test your product out for the marketplace and see what kind of return you can get, I think a $5,000 budget, maybe over a period of 3 or 4 weeks, might be sufficient to really get a clear understanding. The beauty of online sales is it becomes mathematical, right? So let's suppose you have a $5,000 budget. You can take 3 or 4 different ads and start running those ads and see which ones have the best click-through, right? And people see the ad, they respond to it, they click, and which ads leave you what you want, which is typically an email address, right? You can go one step further. Again, my friends that I'm giving free advertising to at Launch Boom, they typically, when they do a campaign, they'll also allow people to put down $1, completely refundable, if they want to be first in line to get this new golden widget when it comes out.
Or the widget app.
Or the widget app. And so it's only $1, but what it really shows is an intent to purchase, right? Because even if it's $1, what has to happen? You have to, unless you memorize all your numbers like me, you have to go get your purse or go get your wallet, take out your credit card, type it all in, and put in the dollar amount and send it off to them. So it shows an intention. It shows an amount of work to indicate that that person's probably serious. And so that works very effectively. But again, you should spend a few, you could probably get away with $2,500, but other than that, you're not going to get a realistic sampling to let you know what type of ads will work really well. And most importantly, what formula that turns out to be. So what do I mean by that? I mean that you will be able to find out for every dollar you spend, how many dollars you're going to get back.
And scale it.
And you'll be able to build out that model because you're now collecting relevant data from your potential audience, the people that you are handpicking as your choice of customers, and you can see real time what's happening. And then you can start coming up with your budget. I know if I spend $10,000 next month, I'll make $50,000, for example, in orders. And the internet's amazing because before the internet, it was a lot different and a lot harder to figure those things out.
Definitely. And not a lot of that is A/B testing too. Your messaging, if you're captivating people, if your imagery is what's calling them, there's a lot that goes into figuring out the best way to market your product to people. So
yeah, and a really good point. It even changes your marketing message, because let's suppose, for example, and I used this example just yesterday when I was talking to somebody. Let's suppose you come up with a phone case that is available in 57 different colors, and you call it the chameleon. Because it's completely interchangeable. You got all these colors, something to please just about everybody. But it also turns out that it's pretty tough. You can drop it, you don't break your phone, and you start doing surveys, and you find out that your audience, by 62%, really love the fact that it's really tough more than they love the fact that it comes in so many colors. So your ad that may have gone out, hey, come get the chameleon. It's available in 57 colors. There's certainly one for you. And oh, by the way, it's almost indestructible. That whole message gets turned around. Come meet the chameleon, the strongest case you'll ever have, indestructible from 20 feet. And oh, by the way, it comes in 57 different colors. So even your whole messaging, when you reach out to a consumer, will change by the data you get back there. So very, very important that you spend that money. And that's a great question. You spend that money to really test your audience, get your feet a little bit wet, and figure out what's going to happen when you put in the big bucks.
Perfect. Well, thank you guys all so much for being here. I know I'm pushing my limit with everyone, so we appreciate you. I know we have Kelly and Sonia, more Maddie, Sec. Thank you for your questions, guys. Lisa, great to see you. And Aziza, Annie, everyone, thank you. Odin, Jared, Bill, I'm trying to catch everyone. John, I appreciate you guys. And don't forget, before you leave, it's going to remind you to get notifications when we go live. We'd love to see you guys here every Friday at noon Pacific time. Or check out if you sign up for our email list, we send these out so that you can get them and watch them anytime. And we also have the blog with valuable information. So just want to help entrepreneurs. You don't have to be an IdeaPros partner to be able to get this valuable information out of Fred's head every single week. So we'll see you guys next week. And do you have any final thoughts for everyone?
I think some of these questions I think are really important. It really inspired me to think about the fact that if you're an entrepreneur, nobody knows you and nobody owes you, right? Nobody owes you anything as an entrepreneur. You've made that decision to take your cushy 9-to-5 job and to take this leap and to go into the wilderness and do something that nobody else has ever done. If you lose sight of that and you start talking about nobody sees me, nobody looks at me, nobody wants my product, people are not responding, nobody owes you anything. You have to find a way to get to the finish line as an entrepreneur. You have to find a way to get people to look at you. If they're not, ask questions like we're just asked today. What do I need to do? But always remember, this is on you. Nobody else gets blamed. Nobody else gets credit, which is the important part. This is you. This is your journey. Get up in the morning and fight that fight every single day until you get to the finish line. And you are going to get there, and you are going to have your customers, and you are going to have a well-engineered product, and you are going to be able to patent what it is that you want to patent, and you are going to know how many customers are going to want to buy your product and where they are and what they're going to pay for it. And you are going to start collecting checks. And at some point, you're going to thank me for saying what I just said.
Thank you guys all so much for being here. We'll see you next week.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.